Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Wednesday, July 8th, 2015. Oh yeah, so it's just doing a little browsing as usual. Had to take care of a few things earlier today. So just kicking back in the AC for the time being, and just doing a little browsing around, trying to find a few topics that are interesting. Mostly it's going to be local. A couple of things are local, domestic, and some international news, which is pretty interesting. State level as well, but it's just I know people can be talking about the whole Fred DeLuca scandal, with the whole Subway commercial guy, and looks like one of the folks are involved with child pornography. I see this as a mass distraction. Plus, was it planted? Because now with technology, you got cyber criminals to get someone, they'll throw like child pornography in their associates of someone's computer, and they get the raid. Like, how astute of them, right? So don't jump on the hype completely. Like I always say, please observe responsibly. That includes the stuff I address too. So and you could go, always do a little more homework when you can. That'd be great. So the first thing is caught my eye is the whole on Arnold Abbott from Love Thy Neighbor. This came out today from the Broward Palm Beach New Times. So browardpalmbeach.com, and it says here, Arnold Abbott, rival churches are busing the homeless away from my food sharings. It actually came out today. It's by Jeff Reinberger, and as it reads here. Come on, work with me here. Oh, thank you. An international firestorm erupted last November over Fort Lauderdale, citing of then 90-year-old Arnold Abbott and the arrest of members of their activist group Food Not Bombs for violating city's outdoor food sharing ordinance that passed October 22nd. A measure that was part of a trend of homeless hate laws being passed around the country as cities try to crack down on problems associated with homelessness. Mayor John P. Jack Seiler's response to the firestorm that the city was working with some 70 churches and some 20-plus organizations that were all feeding on a regular and daily basis was quickly debunked by critics. Even Commissioner Dean Trantillis, who had been the only commissioner to oppose the ordinance, told Local 10 News, "We can't keep saying that, there are churches and there are facilities to help the homeless, when in fact they don't exist. The enforcement of the ordinance has been on hold since early December, and the city is scrambling to amend it as it faces 5 lawsuits challenging the law's validity." Meanwhile, some of those 70 churches have retroactively stepped up to share food with the hungry, but not with stepping on some toes, most notably those of Arnold Abbott. Abbott says local churches have been undermining his work by scheduling competing food sharing at the same time as his long-standing food sharing move he called shameful. He says that the Coral Ridge Presbyterian bust individuals away from his sharing in April, and that a barbecue for the homeless scheduled at Coral Ridge for tonight also interferes with his long-standing weekly dinner. Another church that buses homeless to an indoor feeding, when confronted by New Times, said it would change the time of the meal so it did not interfere with the long-standing weekly feeding Food Not Bombs. The issue highlights a philosophical divide among homeless advocates, with some conforming to the city's plan and moving feedings inside, and others defiantly sharing food outdoors where they perceive the need. They know I've been out here for 24 years, so it was no accident that they showed right up where I was sharing. Now, the 91-year-old Abbott, known widely as his admirer as Chef Arnold, stated back in May. Abbott was referring to the fact that buses dispatched by Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church to transport homeless folk from downtown Fort Lauderdale to what it called its 6th annual No String Attached banquet on the evening of Wednesday, April 29th, had pulled up right in front of his long-standing Fort Lauderdale Beach food-sharing spot and scooped up dozens of his regular clients before he could feed them. It certainly affected our feeding. We shared with 30 people instead of 200 we prepared for, said Abbott, who founded the non-profit Love Thy Neighbor. Following the tragic loss of his wife Maureen, herself a homeless advocate in 1991, he also noted that a similar situation occurred on a Wednesday in late May or early June, though he could not confirm the exact date. Coral Ridge Presbyterian pastor Dwayne Miller, who is also listed on the church's website as director of ministry, told New Times in May, when asked about the late April annual event, the biggest thing is I want to help out the poor in our community. When asked about whether the Wednesday night sharing could become a regular event and whether he was aware that buses from his church had picked up people at Abbott's beach sharing, the pastor stated that he would have an answer the following day. The answer never came, despite repeated attempts to contact the pastor in May and June, nor have repeated efforts by New Times to contact Miller by phone beginning last week received a reply. Meanwhile, the church's July calendar is announcing a barbecue for the homeless this coming Wednesday, July 8th, beginning at 4:30 p.m., which includes the time frame of Abbott sharing at the beach, which begins at 5:30. New Time has been unable to confirm whether buses would be used to bring homeless people to the barbecue. Miller's assistant, Carol Crapata, interviewed last Friday, denied that buses had been sent to Abbott sharing to bring people to the April 29th event, though she acknowledged that buses were dispatched to downtown to pick up people. She also denied that the church had hosted a second sharing since then. When pressed for information about the upcoming barbecue, Crapata in turn asked who I represented and who had reported that Coral Ridge's buses had picked up people at Abbott sharing. Well, my reply was then many had witnessed it, including Abbott himself. Crapata asked me to put her in touch with the chef. Upon my stating that I couldn't do that, she immediately hung up. Coral Ridge Presbyterian has also made headlines recently over the resignation of Tullian Tchividjian. Hopefully I pronounced that person's name right. A former pastor at the church who is also the grandson of world-renowned evangelist Billy Graham. Tchividjian resigned when an extramarital affair became public. Abbott, upon learning his past Friday of Coral Ridge's Presbyterian plans for tonight's barbecue, echoed the disgust he expressed after the April incident. All the food providers in Broward County know that Love Thy Neighbor has fed the homeless on Fort Lauderdale Beach for the past quarter century, so for them to schedule a food share at the same time is shameful, Abbott said. In May, Crapata has provided New Times with a PDF format listing many established food sharing sites across the country. Abbott sharing, by far the oldest on the list, is noted there as the only option for Wednesday evenings. Many of the sharings listed are at churches that are part of the Hope South Florida network, while Coral Ridge Presbyterian wasn't on the list since it doesn't host a regular weekly food sharing. The church is a member of Hope South Florida, which is partnered with the city of Fort Lauderdale as a provider of a variety of services to the homeless community. Two other churches in the Hope Network, however, Christ Church in Pompano Beach and the Answer Church in Hollywood, do regular sharings. The former every Saturday morning, where there were no other sharings, and the latter only once a month on the second Friday for these sharings. Transportation is provided on a bus owned by Best Roofing, who is the owner of former Miami Hurricanes football captain Greg Wallach is a major booster for Hope. A pickup spot for the once-a-month Friday sharing is immediately adjacent to Stranahan Park, where Food Not Bombs has been doing a regular Friday food sharing for more than 7 years, which that's a fact. Pastor Larry Lacey of the Answer Church, upon learning that this one Friday per month share coincide with Food Not Bombs weekly sharing, indicated that he would seek another day to share food. The last thing I want to do is interfere with an outdoor food sharing, said the pastor, who also spoke out last year in opposition to the food sharing ordinance. Perry Cannon, a member of the Christ Church in Pompano, according to a church source, is a former chairman of the board for Hope, going back a decade, then known as Shepherd's Way, and in recent years has worked as a volunteer with the organization. While acknowledging that he was recently hired by Hope to establish more indoor church food sharing locations for the group, Cannon has maintained a strict neutrality regarding the outdoor food sharing ban. Indoor food sharing ban at churches is not restricted by any municipal law. Last October 22nd, Cannon had joined dozens of people to speak out at the City Commission meeting the night of the ordinance passage. Minutes from that meeting, and Cannon's signed-up card to speak were provided by the Fort Lauderdale City Clerk Office in response to a Florida Public Record request on Monday. The minutes detail his commentary from that meeting. There are meals being served inside at local churches, which has been the case for the past 22 years. Meals should be hosted in a dignified way, which fosters community and downbreak barriers. He was aware of discussions with Hope South Florida for a solution to this community problem. He asked the commission to allow them to work with the city to find a solution. Their goal is to continue serving indoors and expand it to more nights. The minutes then go on and to note both Commissioner Roberts and the mayor acknowledges his affiliation with Hope. Mayor Silas says there has been a lot of misinformation on this topic, but the city has been working closely with Hope South Florida. The minute states on the card that prospective speaker at the commission's meeting fill out to speak on a given agenda item. Cannon left unchecked the boxes that indicated support, opposition, or neutrality toward the measure. Rather, he wrote on the card 4 words: "Haven't read the amendment." Cannon questioned Monday evening at the food sharing he hosts at St. Christopher's Episcopal Church, a Hope member near a church near downtown Fort Lauderdale, held firm to his neutrality line. "That's Arnold and the outdoor food sharers fight," said Cannon in reference to the hotly disputed food sharing ordinance. He added, "I want people to be able to come inside." Regarding with his new role Hope to establish more indoor food sharing options, Cannon said the goal is 7 days a week at scattered sites. So you gotta find a lot of pros and cons in here. And so it's going to be a big battle, of course. The lawsuits are still pending. Food Not Bombs is one of them. And I know a couple of defendants accused for sharing food after the Food Not Bombs network is supposed to be going to trial, which I do find this a total sham, of course. No victim, no crime. And one thing I have a question with the whole thing with the interfering of Arnold Abbott's Love Thy Neighbor, which Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church has actually conflicted with his feeding schedule. Is Coral Ridge Presbyterian a state church? What I mean by state church, are they under the 501c3? Are they involved, allegedly, with the clerical response team? Something to think about. So there's plenty of information on it. Just type in clerical response team, and the people who are involved with the Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church, and a few others, like state churches, for example, you should ask these pastors this question. Examine if they're not critical of politics or government. Okay, if they're not, you have to really question how come you're not talking about this. It's in the scriptures. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to add that 501c3, okay, from hushmoney.org. And it'll tell you what, again, the 501c3 facts. But the question I have is that, Carl Ridge Presbyterian Church a state church? And of course, a lot of us know in Fort Lauderdale that Mayor John P. Jack Seiler, he's just another rhetorical fool, all right? Another typical career politician that's going to talk out of his rectum in good faith. And of course, Elise Trantilis does have has the guts to debunk it, yeah? So he has called him out a few times on this topic, including opposing the ordinance. So right now, the city of Fort Lauderdale is, I would say, in technical straits. So what's going to happen when they pay all this money out? They're going to cut more. They're going to cut their budget more. They're going to raise taxes because they're for their own damn stupidity. So yeah, definitely, this is really conflicting. And like I said, love thy neighbor. All right, Abbott's doing his thing. If there's a case about the buses are picking the people up that go up there, I'll tell all these folks this. Go out there and videotape these too, and share it with others. Because I will have to do it myself. So videotape and have them take the buses. And I did see the Best Route buses picking up people too at the library, which is okay. So by the library, so Stranahan Park. But that's the thing you got to always look at about who's going hand in hand. And if the church, if they want to do the indoor thing, that's fine too. Not wrong with that, because sometimes it gets real hot out there. So it keeps them cool, which is good, as long as they got everything maintained in good faith, without government sticking their nose in where it don't belong. But you have to always watch out for these people, even with certain churches. If they're doing that with Arnold Abbott, that's dead wrong. That's why I question, are they a state church? Are they being hired allegedly by the city to do this? Or they're involved with the clerical or clerical response team? So just an example. Something the folks to think about. But definitely I'm going to add the 501c3 facts from hushmoney.org. I am repeating myself. And you can make your own judgment. All right? So, next one here, I find is really cool here. Came from Yahoo News, and this is by Associated Press, Eric Tucker. It says here, FBI Justice Department take encryption concerns to Congress. Oh, really? So let's just read what Mr. Tucker has to say. And it says here, federal law enforcement officials warned Wednesday that data encryption is making it harder to hunt for pedophiles and terrorist suspects, telling senators that consumers' right to privacy is not absolute and must be weighed against public safety interest. Ooh, really? And it says here, the testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee marked the latest from this high-stakes dispute between the Obama administration and some of the world's most influential tech companies, moving discussions greatly before Congress. FBI and Justice Department officials say encryption technology built into smartphones make it harder for them to monitor and to intercept messages from criminal suspects, such as Islamic State sympathizers who communicate online and child predators who conceal pornographic images. They're asking for greater access to encrypted data. I'm going to keep going here. They face fear opposition from Silicon Valley companies who say encryption projects the security of customers' communications and protects them from hackers and corporate spies. The companies have written to the Obama administration and used public speeches to press their case. FBI Director James Comey sought to tamp down tension on Wednesday, telling senators that he believed technology companies were fundamentally on the same page as law enforcement, adding, "I'm not here to fight a war. Encryption is a great thing. It keeps us safe. It protects innovation, Corney said. It protects my children. It protects my health care. It's a great thing. The Justice Department says not seeking new authorities, though officials say they are concerned that existing laws have not kept pace with advancing technologies. They say end-to-end encryption, in which only the user but not the company can access the data, means law enforcement cannot monitor electronic communication even with a lawful court order. Deputy Attorney Jerry Sally Yates said the Justice Department believes the companies, not the government, should maintain the key to unlocking encrypted communications. She said the concern was especially acute at the time when the Islamic State has used social media to reach followers in the United States that moved the conversation to encrypted platforms, the officials say. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep on going here, my friends. The current public debate about how to strike the careful balance between privacy rights and public safety has at times been challenging and highly charged discussion. Yates told the committee, personal privacy and internet security, she said, are not absolute and have to be balanced against the risk we face from creating war-proof zones of communications. Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy, panel senior Democrat, expressed wariness about facilitating law enforcement access to encrypted material, said he wasn't sure how much that would help. Strong encryption would be available from foreign providers, Leahy said. Some say that any competent internet user would be able to download strong encryption technology or install an app allowing encrypted communication, regardless of restrictions on American businesses. Tech companies call concerns overblown and vow to protect customer privacy. They say that any key that could give law enforcement access to encrypted devices could presumably be exploited by hackers and criminals too. In a speech last month, Apple CEO Tom Cook said the company would not waver in offering encryption tools to customers, and said weakening encryption would have a chilling effect on our First Amendment rights and undermines our country's founding principles. In a May letter to the White House, a tech company coalition argued that strong encryption protects against innumerable threats and urged government to reject any proposal that U.S. companies deliberately weaken the security of their product. I have to say this. He's right. All these people that support encryption are correct. You think, and the government's like, oh wow, we can't have this because of the terrorist threat from ISIL. Look, ISIL, like I said before, ISIS is related to Al Qaeda. They are funded by the New World Order. So please stop giving us garbage from the people in Washington. You don't know what the hell are you talking about? Thanks to 9/11, you use all these tyrannical laws you're trying to push for, including Allah, the USA Patriot Act, now is backfiring. And a lot of us are aware. And of course, I'm talking about Eric Snowden. Snowden this, Snowden that. But you know what? Only he did, my friends, he just verified. A lot of us knew about this whole spy and peeping toms and suspected terrorists. That include you and I. So you know what? I am happy that the Justice Department and the FBI wants to go to Congress about this. Oh, we got these encryption concerns. Please help us. You know what? Too bad. Because you know what? Because a lot of people are tired of you folks. Because you got criminal elements within your departments or establishments that you can despise whatever you want because they attacked us because of our freedoms. A la 9/11, which it was never about our freedoms. We're not going to lose our freedoms. It is unacceptable, null and void. Our freedoms can't never be diminished or abolished, but governments can. So stop playing around and deal with it. And to the FBI Justice Department, You should be talking about when the United States is going to stop being an empire. When you're going to start re-examining our Bill of Rights. Stands for government keep out. Learn from it. Live it. Love it. If not, get the hell out of here. Because you're contaminating space. Going to Congress. Oh my goodness. I'm concerned about these encryptions. We can't crack them. It'll be a lot longer. It may be some terrorist groups. Please, like I say this, government, tyrannical governments are the greatest known terrorists in world history. Deep down inside, you know I'm right. Enough of that. And I'm going to be hidden here. Actually, I got this from disinformation.com, and it originally came from CNN.com, CNN Money, and it's pretty interesting here. I gotta reload this. It is entitled, MasterCard will approve purchases by scanning your face. How exciting, isn't it? What a concept. And there's a video for that, by the way. And as it reads here, this fall, MasterCard will start experimenting with a new program approving online purchases with the facial scan. At checkout, you'd be asked to hold up your phone and snap a photo. MasterCard's thinking it's easier than remembering a password. New generation, which is into selfies. I think they'll find it cool. They'll embrace it, says AJ Bahala, who is in charge of coming up with innovative solutions for MasterCard security challenges. This MasterCard's way of cutting down fraud. Currently, customers can set up something called security code, which requires a password when shopping online. This stops credit card number stealing hackers from actually using your card on the web. It was used in 3 billion transactions last year, the company said, but passwords get forgotten, stolen, or intercepted. So banks are following Apple's lead. The iPhone fingerprint scanner started a security revolution in 2013, which there's a flaw for that, by the way. Apple Pay showed that customers are willing to use biometrics to prove their identity. Welcome to 1984. MasterCard will launch a small pilot program that uses fingerprints but also facial scans. It will be a limited experience involving 500 customers. But once it works out all the kinks, MasterCard plans to launch it publicly or sometime after that. To pull this off, MasterCard has partnered with every smartphone maker, including Apple, BlackBerry, Google, Microsoft, and Samsung. The credit card company is still finalizing deals with 2 major banks, so it wasn't ready to say whose customers will get this first. How it works. You have to download the MasterCard application to use the feature. MasterCard said a pop-up will ask you for your authorization after you pay for something. The company did not demonstrate a working version to CNN Money. If you choose fingerprint, all it takes is a touch. If you go to facial recognition, you stare at the phone, blink once, and you're done. MasterCard security researchers decided blinking is the best way to prevent a thief from just holding up a picture of you and fooling the system. MasterCard said it doesn't actually get a picture to put your finger or face. All fingerprint scans will create a code that stays on the device. A facial recognition scan will map out your face, convert it to ones and zeros, and transmit that over the internet to MasterCard. Bala promised that MasterCard won't be able to reconstruct your face, and that the information would transmit securely and remain safe on the company's computer server. This makes some cybersecurity experts uncomfortable. They prefer that your data stay on your phone. I understand why they want that data, but no, I don't like it, said Robert M. Lee, co-founder of consulting firm Drago Security. from a privacy aspect, it's awful. But for a business perspective, from a business perspective, I don't understand why they accept that risk. Everything has its pros and cons, I would say, my friends. Keeping this information in one location makes it more tempting to hack, but there's some faith that MasterCard can adequately protect it. They're storing and a litho rhythm, not a picture of you, and I'm sure they're doing the appropriate stuff to guard it, said Philip Dunkelberger, who runs Knock Knock Labs, okay, a company that creates technology that authenticates people. MasterCard is only at a testing phase. Company's representatives noted it might end up keeping facial scan on the device in the long run. It doesn't end here. Bahala said MasterCard is also experimenting with voice recognition, so you'll be able to simply approve an online transaction by speaking to your phone. MasterCard is working with a Canadian firm, NYSE, to develop technology that will approve transactions by recognizing your unique heartbeat. That means no interruptions. So, up next, shopping with a fitness bracelet? Wow. I am pretty stunned, but not surprised. And there's a video for that as well. So I'm going to actually discard this info, and I thank him. And it'll be the CNN money. It may sound all well and good, my friends, but you always have to look at the fine print. How I see this is just another phase of conditioning us like Pavlov's dogs, train us to rely on our cards only, leaving all your financial eggs in one basket, including confirmation. I am not a big fan of these credit cards, debit cards, and so forth. I have them as auxiliaries, but not my main course. I always prefer cash. Soon I would recommend folks to use gold and silver as well. This is a big brother thing? Yes, I am very convinced. And another thing you have to look at, all these gadgets in MasterCard wants to keep everything secure. I'm not going to condemn them as a whole, but you always got to be aware about infiltrators, plants, and hackers will find a way of getting in there to get that data. Every great high technological product has a flaw. It's just human nature, my friends. I don't really prefer this because it could happen it could screw anybody. By the way, just let you know, Jose Pagliari wrote this, and you can follow him too on Twitter. So definitely, I don't know how cyber safe is this. I am not believing the hype. I'm just being vigilant as usual, especially when it comes to all these high-tech gadgets. When they want to try to cut down fraud and go through hoops, leaps, and bounds to make sure your money is safe. So always remember, never leave all your financial eggs in one basket. Plain and simple. We don't want to fall in the same footsteps as Sweden and Denmark. Like I said, if you hear my past episodes, Denmark is thinking about being cashless. Let's not, the rest of the world should not follow that hype. It is very treacherous, my friends. So always think about that. Always remain vigilant when it comes to your livelihood, your finances, and so forth. And that is really it. Next one here came from FDL. One moment, boom. And which is firedoglake.com. FDL, that's interesting. Yeah, so came out today. This is entitled Activist Forced to Submit to Secrecy and File Appeal a Lawsuit Allegedly Domestic Military Spying Under Seal. This is done by Kevin Gastola, which came out today. 1 p.m. to be exact, Eastern Time. It says here, in a major case involving significant allegations of domestic spying by the United States military, targeted activists have filed an appeal in the 9th District Court of Appeals, but no members of the press or public can read the appeal because the court forced plaintiffs to file it under seal. Oh, really? Trust the government. The lawsuit. Panagakos versus Towery accuses the Army of directing John Jacob Towery, who worked for the U.S. Army Force Protection Division at Fort Lewis, to infiltrate a group called the Port Militarization Resistance, PMR, in Olympia and Tomoka in Washington. It also accuses cities of Olympia and Tomoka of coordinating with the Army to violate the First and Fourth Amendment rights of activists. PMR organized demonstrations from 2006 to 2009 and engaged in nonviolent civil disobedience with the intention of preventing the shipment of Stryker vehicles or other military cargo to Iraq. So they're against the empire, which is understandable. A district court dismissed the case in June 2014. Essentially, the judge hearing the lawsuit chose not to do his job, admitted to lawyers representing activists he had not reviewed all the evidence against the Army and Towery, and issued a decision that could seriously jeopardize the ability of citizens to dissent in American society if the decision is allowed to stand. Okay. Now, the National Lawyers Guild attorney, Larry Hilds, has filed an appeal, but Hilds must fight for the court to allow the public to read the contents of this important appeal. The case is of unusual public interest because it involves very timely controversies, military and governmental spying on civilians, and the violation of the constitutional privacy and association rights. Argues a brief to have the appeal unsealed, and there is a PDF format on this too, just to give you guys a heads up, and it is 55 pages long, so you can definitely look that up. Definitely check that out. Now I'm going to head back. See? Okay. The right of media access and the general public access to matters involving governmental spying and the suspect police activity is to First Amendment importance. Thomas Rudd, a head of the Force Protection Division, allegedly directing Towery to identify activists in order to facilitate their arrest without probable cause. He allegedly instructed Towery to report on meetings, demonstrations, and private personal events and relationships so that civilian law enforcement agencies would be able to arrest, follow, cite, detain, harass, and comply and transmit dossiers that would facilitate disruption of the anti-war movement. According to Hilds, Towery admitted during depositions that he had not only been paid by the Army to go to the PMR meetings at private homes, but was also paid to attend meetings related to actions planned for the Republican National Convention and Democratic National Convention in 2008. Towery used the term anarchist as a label of convenience to target people and their actions and their threats to the military. The Army, as well as Towery and Rudd, appear to fear further embarrassment for their role in domestic military spying. They push for contents of the appeal to remain secret because it references documents containing evidence which corroborates serious allegations by activists. However, Hills maintained that this violation the protective order and rules established in early case, which was first filed in 2010, denied the right the public to know how extensive the Army operations against peace activists waged from the Joint Base Lewis McChord, where, how high up in the chain of command they went, who specifically it was involved. Back in December 2013, Rudd and his counsel produced an U-index dump of more than 9,400 pages of Army documents related to allegations. It took attorneys for activists 3 months to go through the pages. The document dump delayed taking depositions. A motion for summary judgment was filed on the day of the last deposition. The lead counsel for activists suffered a cardiac emergency. They're given no extra time to address the issue of unsealing records in the case, so the activists had to file their response to the issue of summary judgment under seal. The case was dismissed on June 18, 2014, and the critical issue of whether relevant records showing evidence of Army spying should remain secret when undressed by the court. I have to say, hell no. There are a number of records of parts of records that attorneys have been able to make public. For example, in 2007, domestic terrorism dossiers were created of activists, including Brandon Dunn, who is one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And there is a list, about, it says here, entry listed below, new entry, about domestic terrorism conference. So you can look at it yourselves, you can put a link on that as well. So you shouldn't really have to worry about that. Just you can see it yourself, and it is gonna be connecting. Yep, so that's not the problem. So let's head on back here. Hold on there, my friends. Let's get a little slow on the internet, but yeah, you always have to look at all these areas. Come on. Yeah, a little slow here. Tugboat. Yeah, that's usually it. So, it's just, something really be questioned, always got to question authority. Okay, so, continue on here. Yet, the Army maintains threat assessments created or disseminated by and on behalf of the Army through Rudd should be kept secret. Part of the argument is that it would compromise Rudd's privacy. There's no reason why these documents will compromise his real privacy or safety, or raise any concerns that are not outweighed by the public's right to know what activities the Army and Rudd were engaged in, with the public's tax dollars against domestic peace groups and other U.S. civilians, the brief declares. Another issue for attorneys pursuing the lawsuit is the court stuck them with a bill of over $38,000 for district court proceedings prior to dismissal. Plaintiffs have sought to advance the cause of peaceful dissent against coordinated military or police subterfuge and espionage. According to the brief, plaintiffs sustained targeted acts of harassment, and the police have been accused of targeting activists for being activists. 2 plaintiffs have been blacklisted in official police and military fusion networks as domestic terrorists. A connotation carry felony implications. Excessive physical force by police marked the official response to explicitly nonviolent discipline, civil disobedience. Imposition over $38,000 in defendants' litigation costs, in addition to plaintiffs' own litigation expenses of over $25,000, will be perceived as a civil fine, and the sheer magnitude will deter activists in the future from seeking justice through the courts. It is in the public interest to deny costs and avoid this chilling effect. Finally, Hills concluded, military and law enforcement officials have admitted to engaging in actions that not only violate our plaintiffs' constitutional rights, but also violate a century-old law that should protect U.S. civilians from military intrusion. By targeting activists without probable cause based on their ideology and their perceived political threat they represent, the Army clearly broke the law and must be held accountable. Yes, I have to agree with that in good faith. In fact, the main idea is this: the U.S. Army has breached their oath of office. Their oath on protecting and defending the U.S. Constitution against foreign or domestic enemies. And 2, posse comitatus. All right, and why do you have to have these documents sealed? It's the U.S. people, tax dollars is going into these military facilities. It's completely unacceptable. And domestic military spying, like the activists are terrorist groups. Oh my goodness, run to the hills. peacefully protesting isn't a terrorist act. This is really mind-boggling at times. And what the question is, who's the injured party? People that support an empire? Oh, my heart bleeds. Oh my goodness, I feel sorry for you clowns. Hopefully this case will go through all in good faith. Plus, everything that's sealed has to be revealed to the American people. Everyone has a right to know, including the press. So everyone in the press, honorable reporters, investigative journalists, need to take the initiative on hounding these people. Hound them. Keep them on their toes. The people don't realize strength comes in numbers, and solidarity is the key. And I hope justice will go in for Mr. Towery and a few others that are involved in this scheme. Blow back in their faces. Not for the money, but rather the principle. Alright, next one here came from Washington Times. It came out today, if I'm correct, right? And it says here, gun used in Kathryn Steinle killing reportedly belonged to a federal agent. Wow. There's a video for that. And I gotta... Oh, really? So you don't want me to do the entire story here? Yeah, there's a lot of big controversies with that. On the whole... on this whole thing, because the person was a illegal alien, and there's a claim that he was deported like 5, 6, 7 times, I would say. So let's keep on looking here. And this is written by Valerie Richardson and Victor Morton, and it came out, it was yesterday. Interesting. Alright, it says here, a federal agent's gun used to kill Kathryn Steinle in a homicide that is wildly in the nation's debate over illegal immigration, according to multiple news outlets Tuesday night. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, multiple Democratic officials from Dianne Feinstein to presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton criticized San Francisco for its sanctuary policies of refusing routine cooperation with federal immigration officials. Suspect Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, who had been deported 5 times, had a felony record, was freed in March on an old marijuana charge, even though Immigration and Custom Enforcement have filed a detainee request with a San Francisco law enforcement. Mrs. Feinstein blasted San Francisco Sheriff's Department on Tuesday for releasing Lopez Sanchez, saying Mr. Steinle would have been still alive if the department had notified the federal immigration authorities. The tragic death of Miss Steinle could have been avoided if the Sheriff's Department had notified ICE prior to the release of Mr. Sanchez, which would have allowed ICE to remove him from the country. Mrs. Feinstein said in a letter to San Francisco's Mayor Edwin M. Lee. The Sheriff's Department has said that Lopez Sanchez was released because ICE failed to produce an arrest warrant for judicial determination, as required under San Francisco sanctuary city rules. I strongly believe that an undocumented individual convicted of multiple felonies with a detainer request from ICE should not have been released, Mrs. Feinstein said. We should focus on deporting convicted criminals, not setting them loose on our streets. As a member of the Judiciary Commission, I am looking at whether additional federal legislation may be necessary. Mrs. Clinton spoke similarly, telling CNN Tuesday in her first sit-down national press interview since declaring her candidacy that San Francisco was wrong to ignore the ICE's detainer request. The city made a mistake not to deport someone that a federal government strongly felt should be deported, she said. So I have absolutely no support for a city that ignores the strong evidence that this should be acted on. CNN first broke the news about the gun briefing a federal agent's gun, citing a source with knowledge of the investigation. The Associated Press and Fox News both later reported similarly. According to San Francisco Chronicle, citing sources close to the investigation, the gun was not the agent's officially provided weapon. According to the Chronicle, the .40 caliber pistol was reported stolen in a car burglary last month in San Francisco's downtown area. It was not clear that Tuesday night whether Lopez Sanchez was that burglar or not, or if not, how exactly he acquired the gun. Lopez Sanchez told KGO TV in a jailhouse interview that he shot Miss Steinle accidentally when the gun he found wrapped in the t-shirt went off, and that he cannot remember the details because he had been taking sleeping pills. Also Tuesday, Lopez Sanchez pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and weapons charges in the case. His bail was set at $5 million, which means he'll stay in jail until the murder trial, where he faces a possible sentence of life imprisonment. Lopez Sanchez has said he came to San Francisco because he knew local police would not turn him over for deportation because of the city's sanctuary policy, which has caused Republicans to blame these policies adopted by liberal enclaves nationwide. House Judiciary Chairman Bob Goodlate, Virginia Republican, announced that he would bring Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson before his committee the next week to answer questions on the matter. Philip Miller, an official of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also blamed San Francisco at a Tuesday hearing of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, saying that city officials did not honor a federal request to keep Lopez Sanchez in custody. San Francisco Sheriff Ross Montgomery has defended his office's decision, saying ICE should have issued an arrest warrant. Mr. Miller declined after hearing the comment on that assertion. This article was based in part on Wire reports. Well. So, it's going to be the hot potato blame game. Alright, that's for one. They're all going to find out who done it. Yeah, sanctuary cities overall is a complete sham. Alright? I'll say that in good faith. And three, Lopez made a claim that it was manslaughter because the gun was in the t-shirt. I don't know, according to witnesses, there's a different story. But they have to prove that in court. But if he's been deported 5 times, there is a flaw within the major flaw within the immigration. And it was just in the United States, is just a very good example. I know too, the North American Union is part of that platform. What they call about immigration, opening borders. I believe, if I'm correct, Judicial Watch had articles on that. So I would recommend check that out. But he shouldn't be in this country, period. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Lopez Sanchez, based on his past action. I'm just going by this article here. Because, like they say, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, the federal government is supposed to have a job to protect the states within the union or the country from invasion. So technically, they say if you're an illegal immigrant, you're invading the country. In other words, you're trespassing. And what really catches my eye too was with Senator Dianne Feinstein and Henry Lyman Clinton. They're a bunch of flip-floppers too. I could make that. I am real convinced by that. But they deported 5 times to have a felony record. Interesting. So we got to find out how accurate all this information is and just build from there. So if you have this trial, that's going to probably be more stuff will be revealed. I would guarantee that. But definitely, if he's been deported 5 times, he's a habitual offender. He should not be there. And San Francisco said they didn't have a warrant for his arrest. Sanctuary City, like I said, it's a sham. Yeah, overall, it's a total sham. So It's got, like I said, doesn't matter what that person looks like. Undocumented workers and illegals, doesn't matter what they look like. They could be all white Anglo-Saxon for all I care, with the same surname as mine. It's still null and void. But definitely, let's gotta find out what more details comes in. All right, speaking of economics, I'm gonna check this out right here. Came out from govslaves.info. Came out today. It says here, Chinese stocks collapse right before New York Stock Exchange shutdown by Kit Daniels. InfoWars. Alright, it says here, Chinese stocks are suffering huge declines prior to the New York Stock Exchange shutdown due to an alleged technical issue, fueling concerns whether NYSE was actually halted due to the free fall in China. Companies in China fell 20% from a May high ending right before the NYSE shutdown. The Hang Seng Index plunged in since the 2008 financial crisis. The Hang Seng Index fell 5.8% to 23,516.56 at the close today, the biggest drop since November 2008, after slumping as much as 8.6%. Bloomberg's Kana Nishizawa wrote. There's a link for that too. So, overall, China's stock market plunge has wiped out $3.2 trillion since June 12th. Investors are disappointed and afraid as the Chinese policymakers lose control of the market. Mary Ashidari, a Hong Kong-based financial strategist, said, with no end in sight to the plunge, sentiment has turned cold. With liquidity drying up in the mainland, the Hong Kong market is being sold instead. The only thing it can do is just quietly take the storm. The global economy is so dependent on China that if the country were to completely implode, a worldwide recession would likely result. Not long after China suffered huge losses on Wednesday, the New York Stock Exchange temporarily halted the trading due to an alleged technical issue. New York Stock Exchange market has temporarily suspended trading in all symbols. The NYSE said a statement. Additional information will follow as soon as possible. Art Ashen, director of floor operations in the New York Stock Exchange, told CNBC it has been a bumpy day before the stock market was shut down. We had some technical problems even before the opening, he say. Can we say possible false flag? Yeah, something to think about, my friends. So the world economy, yeah, because look what happened in Greece and all that too. They're gonna try to blame Greece. The people of Greece who said the hell with austerity. You're gonna blame the Chinese. The Chinese gonna blame them for it. Oh yeah, so it's another glitch. Something to think about. How accurate this information is gonna be. So all I can tell everyone: always observe responsibly as usual. So it really catches my eye. It scratches my head too when China's stocks collapse. Because I'll tell you one thing: if they do collapse, it can affect us all worldwide. So always be aware and pay attention economically. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. Like I said before, it includes the credit cards. And try to be self-contained the best we can if this economic collapses, Lord willing. But it's been talked about for a good period of time now. You get that. I say this: the tyrannical central bankers from around the world, including the World Bank and the IMF, can be behind this. Possibly. I'm not going to make any memorable claims, but based on past history, yes. So they are the big suspects. So speaking about the IMF, this is the next one here. Came from Before It's News. Actually came out yesterday. And it's by Lisa Haven. Yeah, Lisa Haven. Okay, she has her own little news story here. And it says here, IMF to make huge announcement in October that will change everything in the U.S. And it says here, One of the most powerful manipulative groups in the world, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is predicted by Dr. Steve Sagarud on October 20th of this year to announce a new world reserve currency alternate to the U.S. dollar. According to Dr. Steve Sagarud, a currency expert who is featured on CNBC and Bloomberg, it has been active in the markets for over 2 decades now, but I've never seen anything that could move so much money so quickly. Hundreds of billions of dollars could change in hands in a single day after this announcement is made. The announcement will start a domino effect that will basically determine who in America gets rich in the years to come and who struggles. The IMF is a global organization and known for monitoring the financial health of more than 185 countries, establishing money global laws, and providing bailouts to nations. They have a lot of power behind them and are capable of accomplishing the task if it so plays out. And here's a breaking report. There's a video on that, which is about 10 minutes long. The announcement may or may not come in October. However, I do believe the announcement will eventually arrive. Many believe it could be the Chinese yuan that takes place as the new world reserve currency. However, the only time will tell. So there's interesting little graph bars on here too, where other world's reserve currencies. And it says here, U.S. dollar, British pound sterling, Japanese yen, Swiss francs, Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, and euros. The world reserve currencies look like this. The red representing Hebrew, the red representing the yuan, and the U.S. dollar may be declining. So definitely go to lisahavennews.net, and they have more information right here on it, on the world currency. And I know this has been talked about for a good period of time. About the dollar is dead, according to some folks. They have interviews on this, plus even trades with Russian and China with the oil, and they're not using the dollar. And I remember the time too, even when Muammar Gaddafi, according to RT, talked about exchanging, doing business with his money, which it has gold backing. So we just gotta wait and see, and prepare yourselves to the best of your ability. And this is why I always tell folks, again, invest in commodities, sound money. Even in the United States, okay? The truth of the matter is, in the United States, gold and silver coins are guaranteed under Article 1, Section 10 of our U.S. Constitution. Gold and silver coins is money, not the Federal Reserve note. They're considered promissory notes. Monopoly money, fiat, which in Latin means how long can it last. It might change any time soon. So if that occurs, my friends, within the United States, don't blame the Democrats, don't blame the Republicans, don't blame George W. Bush or Barack Obama. They're all partially yes. However, they'll go after the Federal Reserve and the IMF and the World Bank. What they all have in common, they're centralized tyrannical banks that are financially involved with the New World Order. So, something to really contemplate, really deep. And I might have to check out some of Lisa Haven's other stuff. So she does post the stuff on Before It's News, which is fantastic. And lisahaven.net, check it out. Or not, just hit that link. Okay, all my footnotes will be on my Spreaker page, so definitely check her out and observe responsibly as usual. I know I've been repeating myself, but I'm just giving you my views. All right. Speaking, this is going to be a couple domestic related stuff. This came from the Orlando Sentinel. It's entitled, Supreme Court Clears Way for Florida to End Gerrymandering. And it says here, Got Maxwell gerrymandering no more. New ruling says citizens can strip politicians of districting drawing rights. Interesting. And it came out yesterday, and it says here, 8:10 p.m. to be exact. Arizona and Florida have a lot in common. Both sides are hot as blazes. Both are picked with retirees. Both are run by politicians with long, proud traditions of hosing their residents. Specifically, legislatures in both states have rigged their political districts, drawing twisted, deformed boundaries to keep themselves and their buddies in office. It's called gerrymandering. And for more than a decade, citizens in both states have tried without success to make their politicians behave. Florida voters tried by passing the Fair Districts Amendment, which are supposed to force them to draw sensible, compact districts. Sorry about that. It works also as well as trying to force pigs to fly. Just as pigs don't have wings, Florida legislatures don't have it in their DNA to act like trustworthy human beings. They lied, they cheated, conspired, and even deleted emails trying to circumvent the state's fair district mandate. It was similar in Arizona, so Arizonians did something more drastic. They stripped lawmakers of their districting privileges and gave the drawing duties to a bipartisan commission. It worked, with 5 appointed members, 2 chosen by Democrats and 2 by Republicans, and the 5th selected by the other 4. The Arizona's commission drew more compact districts that more accurately represented the state's electorate. They were not perfect, but they were more sensible and fair. So obviously the politicians hated it. Arizona legislatures whined and sued, saying only they're entitled to draw districts. I feel sorry for you guys. But last week the U.S. Supreme Court sided with citizens, saying that they had the right to take back their government. Yeah! Fantastic. Arizona voters sought to restore the core principle of Republican government, namely that the voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around, explained Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This, my friends, is a big darn deal and something Florida should emulate. Gerrymandering, after all, is one of the main reasons you're so frustrated with government, because it's so hard to kick unresponsive politicians out of office. See what gerrymandering. The politicians draw districts for themselves and their buddies where they are almost guaranteed to win. Both parties conspire to do so. For instance, the Florida Republican legislatures took every blackface they could find and crammed them into U.S. district, into Democratic U.S. Representative Corey Brown's snake-like district that slithers narrowly from Jacksonville to Orlando. Brown was happy to have the safe seat, and Republicans were happy to be rid of those pesky black Democrats. Brown got 1 seat, Republicans got 3. As a result, seats rarely change hands. Last year, despite Congress having an approval rating of 14%, not a single local incumbent lost his or her bid for re-election. Statewide, only 2 of Florida's 27 U.S. House races were considered competitive. In the legislature, only 12 out of 120 state houses ones were competitive. Newcomers don't run because they know they don't have a chance. That means you are denied serious choices at the polls. Can you even name Alan Grayson's or John Micah's opponents in the last go-around? So Arizona took the politician out of the equation. By creating a commission with equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans, it forces those who draw districts to work together, something Florida legislatures rarely do. No system is perfect. Maybe Arizona's could be tweaked for Florida, but the idea of taking the fox out of the henhouse is way overdue. Supreme Court decision is a major victory for citizens of Florida, said Pamela Goodman, president of the Florida League Women voters who had fought the frustrating battle to fair districts. It means that redistricting process can once and for all be taken out of the hands of legislators. It also, by means, can still make a difference when they take their issue directly to the polls, and why politicians or others' vested interests are so darn nervous. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. I think it's an awesome article, and I'm glad to share this to everybody. But to all those politicians that don't like it, oh, you poor little Florida servants out there, and the people in Arizona are pissing and moaning because you can't have things your own way. Well, you know what? Too bad. You're pathetic, and you know what? The people are learning to say, you need us more, we need you. So I am very pleased to actually check this out. I think it's awesome. And I'm going to do something here for a moment to keep this going. But I do like this whole gerrymandering ordeal. I think it's incredible. And here's one little quote. Great quote from Lou Rockwell, to be exact. And I do post this on Facebook at times as my comments, and people like it. And it's, of course, you know, want elephants and asses screwing the masses? Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, government means control of the mind. They want you to think you're so damn stupid, but it blows back in their faces. Of course. And this is right here by the gentleman named Lou Rockwell. And it's his famous quote: when government becomes the enemies of rights, it can be tossed out. Rights are permanent, intrinsic features of men, all men. Governments are expedients that come and go according to the people's wish. Rights cannot be altered or abolished. Governments can. That's a quote from Lou Rockwell. And you should always check him out. Go just type in Lou Rockwell. He has some great articles, great writers, and I do address some of the writings here on my show. So that's why I always respect individuals like him, and you all have the right to know what's going on. But you know what, man? I'm happy about to end gerrymandering in Florida. Another step closer for the people, my friends, and now it has to be implemented. We all have duties. Truth, justice, and the goody two-shoes way don't get you anywhere. Action does. All right, well, finally, this came from RT, came out yesterday, and I know many people may find this controversial and so forth, but it's out of real curiosity. All right, it is entitled, Muslim Groups Fundraise to Restore Black Churches, Support Victims of Arson. And as it reads here, Muslim organizations have raised $23,000 to help rebuild 8 historically black churches that have burned down since the deadly attack on a prayer group in South Carolina. 3 fires are believed to be arson, while the rest are under investigation. The groups, including Muslim Anti-Racism Collaborative, the Arab American Association of New York, and Ummah-wide, encourage Muslims to reach out during the holy month of Ramadan. They touted the connection between Muslim and African American communities in the U.S., saying groups are profoundly integrated in many ways in our overlapping identities and our relationship to this great and complicated country. All houses of worship are sanctuaries, a place where all should feel safe, a place we can seek refuge when the world is too much to bear. The group wrote on Launch Good fundraising page, which is a link for that. We are calling you to help add our support to faith communities across the country, pooling their resources to rebuild these churches. The churches, 7 of which in southern states and 1 in Ohio, have drawn suspicion of foul play, beginning just 20 days after 21-year-old Dylan Roof killed 9 people at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal or AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina in mid-June, indicted on 9 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder on Tuesday, and facing possible federal hate crime charges. Roof reportedly told the police he wanted to start a race war. Can we say mind control? And they do show the areas of the churches. One of them will happen in June 26th in Tallahassee, Florida, the state's capital. And Bernie LaBelle did want to update it on the 8 black churches that have burned across 6 states since June 21st. That was on Holds Burning Black Churches, which is a hashtag. These kinds of attacks on black churches are a very old form of intimidation in the South, historically used to strike fear into the hearts of black people, the Muslim groups wrote. And called for donations, Ayem Zahid Shakir said Muslims in America can relate on some levels to historical oppression directed at African Americans in the U.S. The American Muslim community cannot claim to have experienced anything close to systematic and institutionalized racism and racist violence that has been visited upon African Americans, he said. We do, however, understand the climate of racially inspired hate and bigotry that is being reignited in this country. We want to let our African American brothers and sisters know that we stand in solidarity with them during this dark hour. The group has set goals of $20,000, but are close to $23,000 as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time, launching on July 2nd. Churches in Charlotte, North Carolina, Macon, Georgia, Knoxville, Tennessee were deliberately set aflame, according to law enforcement. Fires in Gibson County, Tennessee, and Tallahassee, Florida are believed to have been caused by a lightning strike and electrical fire. And respectively, authorities suspect a lightning strike ignited the blaze at Mount Zion AME Church in Greeleyville, South Carolina, caused the fires in Elyria, Ohio, and Warren, South Carolina are undetermined. From 2007 to 2011, fires broke out at more than 1,700 religious structures per year, including religious schools and a funeral parlor, according to a 2013 report by the National Fire Protection Association. About a quarter of the fires started in kitchen areas, while downed electrical lines were lightning caused by 10% of the fires. Arson was responsible for 16% of the fires, according to the report. African American churches in the U.S. have long been targets of arson attacks. In the summer of 1964, amid for drives to register black voters in Mississippi, 36 black churches were bombed or burned, according to Doc Adam, author of Freedom of Summer. Following the spike in attacks during 1995-1996, where 30 black churches burnt within 18 months, Congress and the Clinton administration passed the Church Arson Prevention Act, increasing sentences for perpetrators, giving federal investigators more power to investigate such crimes. Well, it is whatever you can say about the Islamic community. A lot of people say they're terrorists and this and that and so forth. But I always recommend people start doing their own research by studying the Book of Quran instead of relying on the Fox News and all these other bogus news channels and pathetic PBS stories. You know, like I said, we all have our crackpots and tyrants in every movement. I'm not going to deny that at all. But I think it's a good thing because we're all going to have differences, but we need to stick together too. This is why I have to commend them to do these donations for those churches. Some of them could be purpose, some of them could be accidental. It happens all the time. Man, these churches are falling apart. Okay, that's one of them. So when you got stuff deteriorating or falling apart, what happens is you're gonna get many, like unsafe conditions, including wiring and so forth. Things do happen. But hopefully, like some of the churches that were burnt, weren't all arson. But you have to expect that. It could be an inside job. I don't know for sure. Sometimes you can have a little mind control game, but divide and rule. It's traditional. But for the Islamic community to make this happen, yes, I will give them the thumbs up. And so, like I said, read the Book of Quran and read the Bible. Okay, they believe too that Jesus was a prophet. Now, I don't know about the Son of God, but they believe he was a prophet. It's based on my own research. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do take the initiative, and I can thank my teacher for telling me, you better take world culture when I was in 9th grade. But you know what? Now I thank her to this day, because I still learn a little bit more than I should. So, gotta give them homage on that, and hope and pray these churches won't really be part of a domestic terrorist act. So, that is really it, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this episode, including the rest of my archives throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, recommendations, love letters, hate letters, compliments, criticisms, or send me information, please use decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, or send your comments to iHeartRadio. Or you can email me at lookyluck3@gmail.com. Furthermore, you can hit my Spreaker page, get the information I've addressed aforementioned. Plus, all of the stuff I discussed will be in my footnotes on my Spreaker page as well. Once again, I thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.